There's a reason you pressed play at this very moment. Heaven itself orchestrated it. You may feel tired, anxious, or buried under bills, heartbreak, or a diagnosis that keeps you awake at night. But this is no coincidence. This is a divine appointment with the prayer to Saint Anthony, the humble miracle worker who still moves mountains for those who believe. Even in your silence, heaven hears. Even when your prayers seem unanswered, they are being written into God's perfect timing. Stay until the very end, because this is the moment your miracle begins. O Saint Anthony, gentle friend of the suffering, your presence brings peace to shattered hearts. You who found what was lost and restored what was broken, now look upon us with mercy. We come before you not as saints, but as souls in need, burdened by financial emergencies, broken homes, and weary spirits. Through this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony, may impossible walls begin to crumble, and what was lost be found again. Heaven is moving even now, through your intercession. If you feel that stirring of hope rising again, whisper with faith, "My miracle begins today." O beloved Saint Anthony, miracle worker of countless generations, we call upon you with hearts trembling yet trusting. You who once held the Christ child in your arms, hold now our fears, our doubts, our desperate cries. Lift the name of every person praying this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony before the throne of grace. For those facing eviction, debt, or loss, let financial advancement pour down like rain from heaven. For the sick and forgotten, release healing through divine mercy. You see the hidden tears, the quiet exhaustion of those who feel invisible. Whisper to their hearts that the impossible prayer that works is already unfolding. Strengthen the one who feels too weak to believe, and remind the soul ready to quit that miracles are not delayed, they're developing. As we stay in this sacred moment, remind us that every second spent in faith brings us one step closer to breakthrough. O Saint Anthony, intercessor of the desperate and forgotten, we cling to your light. Present our petitions to God with urgency and love. Let there be restoration of homes, peace in divided families, and laughter where silence once reigned. Show us that what feels lost can be found again, what seems broken can be healed again, and what looks impossible can bow to faith again. We remain in prayer because the next mystery carries the heartbeat of heaven, a deeper revelation of the powerful Catholic prayer for miracles that never fails. Stay, believe, and let heaven write the rest of your story. First mystery, the miracle of restored hope. There are moments in life when hope feels like a fragile thread, stretched thin by pain, debt, sickness, or loss. Yet, it is in those very moments that the prayer to Saint Anthony becomes a bridge between despair and deliverance. He is not a distant saint carved in stone. He is a living intercessor who stands beside the broken-hearted. When everything around you seems impossible, he whispers to your soul, "Heaven is still moving." Every word you speak in this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony becomes a seed of transformation planted in faith's soil. O Saint Anthony, gentle protector and miracle worker, look upon your faithful who are exhausted and uncertain. Some are battling financial emergencies, others are waiting for healing that medicine cannot give, and many are longing for the restoration of homes torn by silence and pride. You, who have seen the power of divine compassion, intercede now before God's throne. Open doors where there are walls, bring peace where there is fear, and let your intercession ignite new beginnings in every heart that prays. Hope is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of faith in the middle of it. There is someone listening now who has cried for months, wondering if God still hears. Let this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony be their confirmation that heaven has heard every word. When faith seems too small to lift the burden, Saint Anthony steps in, holding what we cannot carry, believing when we cannot believe. Through him, miracles move quietly yet powerfully, like dawn breaking through the darkest night. O miraculous Saint Anthony, we lay before you the impossible. For the mother praying over a sick child, the father begging for work, the woman fighting to keep her home, we ask for divine intervention. Let this impossible prayer that works bring results that no human plan could produce. You, who found what was lost, find for us the path to peace, provision, and strength. Remind every weary soul that their tears are not wasted. They are watering the garden of miracles about to bloom. Faith often grows in silence. It's in the quiet moments between heartbreak and healing that God moves most deeply. The one who feels abandoned tonight will soon see evidence of divine love. The prayer whispered in weakness will become a testimony of strength, and Saint Anthony, friend of the hopeless, will stand as witness. Let every prayer to Saint Anthony in this moment echo into eternity, drawing heaven's attention and releasing divine mercy. O Saint Anthony, worker of wonders, touch the hearts of those paralyzed by fear. There are listeners who can't see a way out of debt, who feel buried under bills and doubt. Lift their eyes toward divine provision. Let financial advancement arrive not as coincidence, but as confirmation. May they open their mailboxes, answer their phones, and encounter grace in unexpected places. Let their lack be replaced with laughter, their scarcity with sufficiency, and their despair with deliverance. Even now, something unseen is shifting. Heaven responds not to status, but to sincerity. You may feel too broken to pray, but your whisper is enough. That trembling Amén carries power because it's real. Saint Anthony moves through real faith. Messy, raw, desperate faith. When you surrender what you can't control, heaven begins to take over. That's where miracles live, not in perfection, but in persistence. O Saint Anthony, intercede for the one who's lost direction. They've tried everything, yet nothing works. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles be the map back to peace. You who see beyond time, guide them to the opportunity, the conversation, the open door that shifts everything. Remind them that no delay is denial. What looks like waiting is often divine preparation. There's a man listening who feels crushed under financial pressure. He wonders if God forgot his name, but you, Saint Anthony, know that heaven never overlooks a faithful heart. Let debts be reduced, contracts approved, and promotions released. Let urgent help come swiftly. Let this miraculous prayer today be the spark that lights the way to breakthrough. O Saint Anthony, gentle restorer of what's lost, gather the broken families under your mantle. Where children feel abandoned, bring comfort. Where spouses live like strangers, breathe forgiveness. Where parents worry over prodigal sons and daughters, draw them home. Let this restoration of family relationships begin in prayer and blossom into peace. Hope often looks small before it grows strong. One kind word, one act of forgiveness, one moment of prayer can start a revolution in heaven. And that revolution begins here. The prayer to Saint Anthony isn't just a request. It's a declaration that heaven's resources are unlimited. God's timing may not match our plans, but his results always exceed them. O blessed Saint Anthony, you who calm the storms of troubled hearts, silence the voices of fear and anxiety. There are those who can't sleep tonight, whose minds are spinning with what-ifs. Place your gentle hand over their hearts and whisper peace. Let their dreams be filled with divine reassurance that everything is shifting for good. This prayer is not about begging, it's about believing. It's about standing in the middle of chaos and saying, God is still in control. And through St. Anthony, that belief becomes a magnet for miracles. Doors open, opportunities appear, relationships heal. What was once impossible begins to make sense, not because circumstances changed, but because faith did. O Saint Anthony, healer of wounded spirits, we bring you every shattered dream and every crushed hope. You who saw the Christ child smile in your arms, smile now upon us. Let that same divine light penetrate our darkness. Let it bring warmth to cold hearts and courage to fainting souls. Through this impossible prayer that works, make the invisible visible and the delayed delivered. There's a young woman listening who feels forgotten. Her prayers have gone unanswered for years, but you, St. Anthony, are already moving on her behalf. Let her know that silence is not abandonment, it is sacred timing. Let her hope bloom again, stronger than before. O miraculous St. Anthony, teach us to wait with worship, to hope with humility, to trust with tenacity. For every tear cried in faith becomes the ink God uses to write a new chapter. Let those chapters overflow with miracles, with testimonies of your intercession, and with the joy of restoration that only heaven can provide. Even when the world says impossible, faith says inevitable. And through your hands, St. Anthony, the inevitable miracle is already forming. Help us see it, believe it, and receive it. O beloved St. Anthony, we end this mystery in gratitude. For though we may not see the full miracle yet, our hearts already know something has shifted. The wind has changed. Heaven is near. If you feel hope returning to your heart, if you sense that peace is rising where fear once ruled, type "Hope is alive again" in the comments and remain with faith. The next mystery will lift you even higher into the miracle of divine healing that waits for you now. Second mystery, healing and divine restoration. There are wounds deeper than what doctors can see, the kind that hide behind smiles, the kind that ache in silence. Some listening tonight are fighting battles of the body, pain that medicine can't ease, fatigue that sleep can't fix. Others are carrying invisible scars of loss, betrayal, or grief. But through this prayer to St. Anthony, heaven draws near to every hurting heart. Healing is not a myth, it's a promise. And St. Anthony, the miraculous intercessor of desperate cases, still walks through time to bring restoration where there once was ruin. O St. Anthony, healer of wounded souls, I bring before you those who are broken in body and spirit. You who have seen God's mercy heal what was thought incurable, stretch your hand toward those in pain. Let your very powerful prayer to St. Anthony stir divine healing through every part of their being. Where there is sickness, let there be strength. Where there is despair, let there be peace. Let every breath tonight be proof that heaven still works miracles. Sometimes healing starts before the pain ends. It begins in faith, that sacred whisper saying, God still has a plan. A woman once prayed this miraculous prayer to St. Anthony while facing surgery doctors said might end her life. She prayed not in fear, but in surrender. When she awoke, the doctors said they couldn't explain how the damage was gone. That's what happens when heaven's hand touches earth through St. Anthony's intercession. O glorious St. Anthony, friend of the sick and comforter of the weary, I bring before you every listener facing impossible battles, chronic disease, mental torment, emotional exhaustion. You see the pain they can't describe. Speak peace over their minds. healing over their bodies and light over their nights. Let their faith be louder than their symptoms. Let their hope be stronger than their diagnosis. The greatest healing often begins when we stop fighting and start resting in God's love. You, St. Anthony, knew the secret, that surrender is not weakness, it's worship. And in worship, the powerful Catholic prayer for miracles moves faster than fear. Tonight, we rest in that truth. Heaven is not ignoring your pain, it is preparing your healing. O St. Anthony, miracle worker of mercy, intercede for the one who feels forgotten in the hospital room, for the mother praying through tears beside a child's bed, for the father who feels powerless against illness. Wrap them in divine protection. Let angels stand beside them. Let healing flow like sunlight through every cell and heartbeat. Even emotional wounds leave scars that ache long after the moment has passed. The betrayal, the rejection, the loss, these are sicknesses of the soul. But through your infallible prayer to St. Anthony, even broken hearts can heal. You who held the child Jesus in your arms, hold now the shattered pieces of our faith. Make us whole again. O miraculous St. Anthony, teach us to believe in small beginnings. Sometimes the healing doesn't come as a sudden miracle, but as strength for the next step, peace for the next hour, courage for the next day. That is healing too. Help us recognize it. Help us thank God for it, even when it's quiet, even when it's slow. There's someone listening who's battling anxiety that steals sleep and joy. They've prayed for peace but found only panic. St. Anthony, place your gentle hand over their heart. Let calm flood their mind. Replace fear with faith. Let this miraculous prayer today become their turning point from torment to tranquility. O St. Anthony, compassionate restorer, intercede for those weighed by depression, those who feel trapped in darkness. Whisper hope into their spirits. Remind them that the sun still rises even after the longest night. Let this impossible prayer that works awaken light in every shadowed heart. Some healings don't happen in hospitals. They happen in homes. Families are sick with division. Trust is infected with bitterness, and love lies dormant. You, St. Anthony, who restore families, breathe life back into these broken bonds. Let there be restoration of homes through forgiveness, conversation, and divine intervention. O blessed St. Anthony, I beg your intercession for those burdened by guilt. They carry regret like a stone on their chest. Teach them that grace is greater than failure. Let this prayer to St. Anthony become their medicine, every word healing what shame has tried to destroy. God's mercy doesn't just heal the body, it resurrects the spirit. There is someone listening who once believed passionately, but now doubts everything. Yet here they are, still listening, still hoping. That's faith, not gone, just hidden under pain. St. Anthony, uncover it. Fan it into flame again. O St. Anthony, miracle worker for the broken-hearted, you know how it feels to cry unseen. You who comforted countless souls, comfort us now. Replace tears with trust. Let our sorrow become the soil for future joy. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles turn mourning into music and ashes into beauty. Sometimes the miracle is not in removing the storm, but in calming the heart within it. For every person praying in a hospital, a waiting room, or a lonely bed, let peace descend like a warm blanket. Let them feel God's presence surrounding them. Through your intercession, St. Anthony, may the silence be filled with serenity. O miraculous St. Anthony, for those praying over finances, relationships, or illnesses that seem terminal, remind them that heaven has no limitations. The God who made the blind see and the lame walk is still working through you. Let every listener feel the pulse of divine life returning to their situation. You, Saint Anthony, are proof that miracles are not fiction. They are faith in motion. Let this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony ignite that motion again. Where there is despair, sow hope. Where there is sickness, sow healing. Where there is emptiness, sow abundance. O Saint Anthony, intercessor of impossible causes, stand before the throne of God with our names on your lips. Plead for the broken, the burdened, and the forgotten. Let this moment be their first breath of new life. Let urgent miracles break forth from heaven like rain over dry land. And to you who are listening now, if you feel warmth spreading through your heart, if peace has entered your room, that's not imagination, that's presence. Heaven has entered your space through this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony. Type, "I receive my healing" in the comments if you feel it stirring within you. Stay with faith. The next mystery will awaken the power of impossible breakthroughs, where surrender meets divine speed and the supernatural becomes real. Third mystery, faith that moves the impossible. Faith is a strange thing. It doesn't always make sense, yet it changes everything. When you pray the prayer to Saint Anthony, you are not whispering into empty air. You are sending your trust straight into the courts of heaven. The impossible begins to tremble when faith speaks. The sick recover, the lost return, the broken rebuild. And though you may not see it yet, through this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony, the supernatural is already at work. O Saint Anthony, intercessor of impossible causes, we bring before you the battles that seem unwinnable, the debts that keep growing, the doors that refuse to open, the relationships that feel beyond repair. Stand before the throne of mercy and present these petitions. Remind us that impossibility is not the end, it's the beginning of a miracle. When people reach the end of their strength, that's where faith begins. You, Saint Anthony, knew that truth deeply. You watched God move when logic failed, when prayer was all that remained. Let this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony lift the one who feels forgotten and remind them that the God who parted seas still parts circumstances today. O miraculous Saint Anthony, for those trapped in financial emergencies, let provision appear from unexpected places. You who multiplied bread for the hungry, multiply resources for the faithful. Let phone calls come, doors open, and debts dissolve. Make this impossible prayer that works become a testimony of divine overflow. Faith is not pretending the storm isn't real. It's believing that God is greater than the storm. Someone listening tonight is surrounded by chaos, unpaid bills, broken trust, unanswered prayers, yet they remain. That's faith. That's the spark heaven waits for. And you, Saint Anthony, fan that spark into a flame. O Saint Anthony, friend of desperate souls, teach us to pray not with fear, but with boldness. Help us speak words that move mountains, not because of our strength, but because of our belief. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles awaken courage in the fearful and strength in the weak. When the mind says, "There's no way," faith replies, "Watch God make one." You, Saint Anthony, have seen it. Barren hearts filled with peace, empty wallets filled with blessing, lost children found again. There is no situation too tangled for your intercession, no heart too hard, no distance too great. O Saint Anthony, I bring before you every listener waiting for a sign. Let the miraculous prayer today be that sign. Let the phone ring, the message come, the opportunity appear. Let divine timing prove that God is never late, only precise. Faith is not fragile, it's fire, and fire spreads. When one believer declares, "I still trust," heaven takes notice. When you pray this prayer to Saint Anthony, you ignite that fire in your life and in others. What was frozen begins to melt. What was shut begins to open. O blessed Saint Anthony, you who restored what was lost, restore now the courage of those who've been waiting too long. Restore belief where disappointment has lived too long. Let this infallible prayer to Saint Anthony break every wall of fear. Let faith rise stronger than ever before. There is a listener tonight who has prayed for years, for healing, for marriage, for stability, and seen nothing change. But you, Saint Anthony, remind them that when the seed is buried, growth is happening underground. The unseen work of faith is just as powerful as the visible. O Saint Anthony, we ask for restoration of homes that have lost peace. Families living under the same roof but divided in spirit. Let your intercession soften hearts, remove pride, and awaken forgiveness. Let laughter return to rooms that have known only silence. Faith is not measured by results, but by persistence. When we keep believing even without proof, that's when heaven moves. And right now, heaven is responding to this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony. Chains are breaking, circumstances are shifting, hearts are softening. O Saint Anthony, worker of wonders, show your strength in impossible places, courtrooms, hospitals, empty kitchens. Let the presence of God move through your intercession like wind through dry fields. Let miracles sprout where despair once grew. You, Saint Anthony, have seen poverty turn to abundance, sickness to strength, sorrow to song. Remind us that faith is not about having everything. It's about believing that God is everything. Through this impossible prayer that works, transform fear into freedom. O Saint Anthony, intercede for the one who's lost hope. They've tried, cried, and almost quit. Whisper to their soul, you are closer than you think. Let this be the moment heaven breaks through. Some say faith is blind, but it sees what the natural eye cannot. It sees beyond the diagnosis, beyond the empty account, beyond the broken heart. You, Saint Anthony, help us see with heaven's eyes, to know that what we ask is already being formed by the hands of God. O miraculous Saint Anthony, lift the faith of those who doubt. Let this prayer to Saint Anthony remind them that God is not finished. Every delay has purpose. Every no is making room for a greater yes. When you prayed, Saint Anthony, heaven responded. When you intercede now, heaven still responds. Let those praying feel the divine exchange. Their fear for faith, their burden for blessing. Let them sense the shift in the unseen. And as we reach the close of this mystery, let faith stand tall. You are not forgotten. Your story isn't over. God, through the hands of Saint Anthony, is still writing miracles. If you believe that your impossible situation is bowing to faith right now, write in the comments, "My mountain is moving." Stay here. The next mystery will draw you deeper into surrender, where peace replaces pressure and heaven takes full control. Fourth mystery, the power of surrender that unlocks the supernatural. There comes a sacred moment in every believer's life when faith must let go of control. It's the moment when prayers shift from "God, fix this," to "God, take this." That is the heart of surrender, not giving up but giving over. Through the prayer to Saint Anthony, this mystery invites you into that divine release, where burdens become blessings and worry turns into worship. The supernatural begins when human strength ends. O Saint Anthony, you who trusted God through every trial, teach us the beauty of surrender. You knew that miracles don't come from striving, but from resting in divine timing. Let this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony free those who are tired of trying to fix what only heaven can mend. Release their anxiety, replace their confusion with calm, and let faith become their anchor. When you stop wrestling, heaven starts working. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. There are people listening right now who've tried everything, therapy, strategy, plans, yet peace still escapes them. But tonight, through this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony, they will discover that peace doesn't come when life is perfect, but when the heart yields completely to God. O miraculous Saint Anthony, gentle guide of the hopeless, we hand you the pieces of our broken plans. You who found what others lost, find for us now the courage to release control. Where there is worry, bring worship. Where there is fear, bring faith. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles transform panic into praise. There's someone listening who's been holding on to a toxic relationship, afraid to let go. They fear that surrender means loss. But you, Saint Anthony, know it means freedom. Intercede for them. Let them see that God's no often protects them from heartbreak. Let them trade their pain for peace and their fear for faith. O Saint Anthony, miracle worker for the weary, we surrender our finances, our families, and our futures into your care. Where there is financial emergency, send swift intervention. Let every bill be paid, every need be met, and every burden be lifted through the grace that flows from this miraculous prayer today. The supernatural doesn't answer to logic, it answers to faith. When we let go of control, we make room for divine surprise. You, Saint Anthony, remind us that surrender isn't about losing, it's about gaining what was always meant for us. Let us release what we cannot hold, so heaven can fill our empty hands with miracles. O blessed Saint Anthony, hear the cry of the parent who can't save their child, the spouse who can't mend their marriage, the worker who can't find opportunity. You who have seen restoration of homes and families countless times, teach them to trust God's process. Let this impossible prayer that works be their turning point from exhaustion to expectation. Surrender means saying, even if it doesn't happen my way, I still believe. That kind of faith breaks every chain. There is power in letting go. There is freedom in releasing what you were never meant to carry. You, Saint Anthony, show us that every delay hides a divine design. O Saint Anthony, intercessor of impossible causes, we bring to you every listener crushed by disappointment. Their prayers seem unanswered, their hopes deferred. Whisper to them that surrender is not the end, it's the beginning of movement. God cannot fill a clenched fist, but he overflows an open hand. There's a man praying now, burdened by failure. He's lost his job, his confidence, his peace. He feels invisible, yet through this prayer to Saint Anthony, heaven is already rebuilding his life. As he releases his shame, grace enters. As he releases control, doors begin to open. O Saint Anthony, when fear tells us to hold tighter, remind us to let go. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles become a declaration of faith in divine timing. Teach us that surrender isn't silence, it's sacred strategy. Heaven fights best when we finally stop fighting alone. Surrender doesn't erase responsibility, it transforms it. You still show up, but now you show up in peace. You still act, but no longer in panic. You move under grace instead of pressure. That's when the miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony turns ordinary moments into supernatural breakthroughs. O Saint Anthony, for those holding bitterness like armor, help them release it. Forgiveness is the highest form of surrender. Where there is offense, let there be release. Where there is pain, let there be healing. Let this impossible prayer that works bring reconciliation to families long divided. There's someone listening who's exhausted from holding everything together, their finances, their children, their faith. They've reached their breaking point. Whisper to them, Saint Anthony, that surrender is not the end of the story, it's the opening of a new one. O miraculous Saint Anthony, teach us to rest, not because we've given up, but because God has taken over. Where there is confusion, release clarity. Where there is delay, release divine alignment. Let surrender turn every impossibility into a testimony of faith. Through surrender, the restoration of family relationships begins. The mother who lets go of anger finds her child returning. The husband who stops controlling begins to love again. The wife who releases fear learns to trust again. That is heaven's mathematics. When we lose control, we gain peace. O Saint Anthony, guardian of those who suffer, help us surrender not just our pain, but our pride. Let this prayer to Saint Anthony purify our motives and realign our hearts with God's will. Where ambition blinded us, bring humility. Where self-sufficiency failed us, bring grace. When we truly surrender, miracles move faster. The miraculous prayer today becomes a river, flowing freely without resistance. And what once took years can shift in moments because the heart is finally aligned with heaven's rhythm. O Saint Anthony, we release every fear, every timeline, every plan into God's hands. What's beyond us is beneath his feet. What's too heavy for us is light to him. Let this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony carry every burden heavenward and return as blessing. Surrender isn't the end of effort, it's the beginning of effectiveness. When you let go, God grabs hold. When you stop trying to control, miracles start to unfold. You, Saint Anthony, are proof that heaven's timing is never wrong. O Saint Anthony, for every listener trembling between faith and fear, give them the courage to say, God, I trust you. Let that be their victory cry. Let that surrender echo through eternity. Because in that moment, heaven moves with unstoppable power. And if your heart feels lighter right now, that's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Surrender has shifted the atmosphere. The impossible prayer that works has just been activated in your life. If you feel peace washing over you, write in the comments, I surrender and I am free. Stay, beloved, for the final mystery is coming, a revelation of unshakable confidence that your miracle is already here. Fifth mystery, walking in bold confidence. The miracle is already here. There comes a shift in every believer's heart, the moment when faith stops asking if and starts declaring it is done. This is that moment. Through the prayer to Saint Anthony, we no longer plead for proof. We stand in the confidence that heaven has already moved. The miracle is not somewhere ahead of you. It is unfolding right now in real time through divine alignment. O Saint Anthony, intercessor of impossible causes, teach us to walk in victory before we see results. You, who have witnessed countless miracles, remind us that faith is not waiting to celebrate. It celebrates in advance. Let this very powerful prayer to St. Anthony transform every maybe someday into it's already done. Confidence in God is not arrogance. It's agreement. It's the soul saying yes to heaven's timeline. You, St. Anthony, knew that heaven always keeps its word. As we pray this miraculous prayer to St. Anthony, let us move with assurance that our requests are no longer pending. They are in process, already signed by divine mercy. O miraculous St. Anthony, bless those walking through uncertainty. Let them lift their heads and breathe deeply, knowing that the powerful Catholic prayer for miracles has already unlocked doors. Let them rise with holy boldness, declaring, my breakthrough is here. Faith that waits quietly has its place, but faith that walks boldly changes everything. You, Saint Anthony, saw the lame walk and the blind see. Now let the broken walk in joy and the weary rise in strength. Let the impossible bow before the authority of unwavering belief. O Saint Anthony, when the enemy whispers doubt, let faith roar louder. For those questioning their worth, remind them that they are chosen, favored, and seen. Let this impossible prayer that works destroy every lie of fear and shame. Confidence is not pretending to be strong, it's knowing who stands beside you. There's someone listening who has prayed for years without seeing change. But now, something in their spirit is awakening. The miraculous prayer today has reignited their fire. You, Saint Anthony, are already interceding, already moving, already preparing the manifestation they've waited for. O blessed Saint Anthony, for those in financial emergency, let favor locate them like a magnet. Let promotions appear, debts dissolve, and provision flow freely. Let every closed door open in divine timing. Remind them that heaven's economy never runs out. Confidence means walking like it's already done. When your heart believes that, your steps change. You pray differently, speak differently, live differently. The same God who fed thousands with a few loaves still multiplies today through this prayer to Saint Anthony. O Saint Anthony, miracle worker of hope, fill every listener with supernatural boldness. Let them speak life into their homes, into their health, into their future. Let the restoration of homes begin not with fear, but with faith. Let words of blessing replace complaints, and songs of praise replace worry. To walk in bold faith is to act before evidence arrives. It's to trust the unseen hand of God shaping the outcome. You, Saint Anthony, remind us that miracles don't just appear. They are revealed when we align with heaven's rhythm. O Saint Anthony, friend of those who doubt, help us turn anxiety into action. Let this infallible prayer to Saint Anthony empower us to live as if the miracle has already happened. Let our confidence be contagious, inspiring others to believe again. There's a woman listening who has prayed for her family's restoration. She has cried until her voice broke. But today she will laugh again, for what she thought was over is only being rewritten. You, Saint Anthony, are stitching her story with threads of divine mercy. O Saint Anthony, restore confidence to the one who feels forgotten. Let their faith rise like dawn after a long night. Through this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony, give them courage to step out of fear and into fulfillment. Walking in bold confidence doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you don't let doubt decide. You, Saint Anthony, teach us to keep walking even when the road is dark, because faith doesn't wait for light, it carries it. O Saint Anthony, intercede for those whose hearts have grown weary. Let the joy of victory enter their spirits even now. Let their laughter return, their strength renew, and their peace overflow. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles ignite their destiny. You once held the Christ child, the promise of all miracles, in your arms. Hold us now with the same tenderness. Remind us that when heaven's promises rest upon us, the outcome is secure. Let every listener walk in that assurance. O Saint Anthony, we stand upon your intercession, believing that every urgent miracle has already begun. The financial, emotional, and spiritual breakthroughs are not future tense. They are present reality. Heaven's delivery is already in motion. Confidence is the sound of faith matured. It's when the heart no longer trembles at storms, but dances in the rain. Through this impossible prayer that works, we step boldly into joy, knowing that we are walking not toward miracles, but within them. O Saint Anthony, remind every soul here that they are walking in answered prayer. The healing is in motion, the blessing is on its way, the door is already open. What once seemed lost is returning. What once was broken is restored. Faith doesn't look at circumstances, it looks at the cross, the place where every impossibility was conquered. You, St. Anthony, point us back to that victory, and through this very powerful prayer to St. Anthony, we walk in that triumph daily. O St. Anthony, miracle worker of God's mercy, we thank you for what is already done. The restoration of family relationships, the financial advancement, the healing, all of it is sealed in divine grace. We no longer wait, we walk in it. You who intercede for the desperate have now witnessed our faith. Let heaven honor it. Let this moment be remembered in heaven's record as the day everything shifted. And if you believe your miracle is already unfolding, declare in the comments, "It's done. My miracle is here." Because when you speak it, heaven seals it. Stay until the end. The final blessing is coming next, the sacred outpouring that seals every miracle spoken tonight. Final blessing, the sacred outpouring of miracles and peace. O beloved Saint Anthony, miracle worker of the desperate and defender of the forgotten, we now rest beneath the light of heaven's promise. As this prayer reaches its sacred end, let divine peace descend upon every soul who stayed in faith. Let the prayer to St. Anthony echo in their homes, their hearts and their future. May what was lost now be found, what was broken now be whole, and what was impossible now be fulfilled. For every listener who came weary, let strength rise anew. Let the very powerful prayer to St. Anthony breathe restoration into every corner of their lives. Where there was emptiness, let abundance overflow. Where there was confusion, let clarity reign. Heaven is not distant, it is responding right now through St. Anthony's intercession. O miraculous St. Anthony, we entrust to you every prayer spoken and unspoken. Carry them before the throne of grace. Let debts be cancelled, sickness be healed, and hearts be renewed. Let this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles seal the breakthroughs we've long awaited. Let financial storms calm and peace reign in every home. To those who came seeking urgent help, may divine provision reach you in surprising ways. May the bills be paid, the doors reopen, and the work return. Let financial advancement flow where there was lack and generosity where there was fear. You, St. Anthony, know that even a small miracle changes a lifetime. O gentle St. Anthony, guardian of the poor and humble, we ask that you continue to guide every soul who prayed tonight. Lead them out of worry and into worship. Remind them that heaven has heard. Let every burden they laid before you return as blessing, pressed down and overflowing with grace. May healing now touch every body that aches, every heart that hurts, and every mind that wrestles with anxiety. You, who once held the Christ child, hold us now with that same tender power. Let this miraculous prayer to St. Anthony restore what doctors cannot, mend what medicine cannot, and soothe what sorrow cannot. O Saint Anthony, intercessor of impossible causes, extend your hand over every household represented here. Let this impossible prayer that works release reconciliation where there was bitterness, peace where there was conflict, and laughter where there was silence. May homes once divided now be united in divine love. For the lonely, the grieving, the forgotten, may the light of Christ, through your prayer, pierce the darkness. Let every tear shed in faith water the soil of coming joy. You are not forgotten, beloved soul. Heaven has already written your name in mercy's book. O Saint Anthony, miracle worker for every desperate heart, we lift up families facing despair. Let there be restoration of homes, restoration of family relationships, and renewal of love. Let forgiveness replace resentment and kindness, silence anger. May every wound in spirit be wrapped in God's peace. You who restore what was lost, breathe life into every dream thought dead. Let business opportunities return. Let relationships heal. Let courage rise again. The God who answers through your intercession, Saint Anthony, never fails his children. This is not the end. It is a new beginning. O miraculous Saint Anthony, pour favor upon those seeking direction. Let confusion give way to divine understanding. Let doors open that no man can shut. Let hearts find clarity in the stillness of prayer. Through this prayer to Saint Anthony, may every listener walk in light. For those in fear, let courage return. For those in shame, let grace abound. For those in sorrow, let laughter bloom again. You, Saint Anthony, carry our cries to heaven and bring back answers wrapped in love. May your intercession never cease. O Saint Anthony, we speak blessing over every nation, every city, every home connected to this prayer. Let miracles ripple outward, from one heart to another, from one family to 1,000. Let this miraculous prayer today become a wave of renewal, washing over the world with divine compassion. May angels guard the doors of those who listened in faith. Let their nights be filled with rest and their mornings with gratitude. Let the powerful Catholic prayer for miracles they've spoken tonight continue to echo long after this moment ends. O beloved Saint Anthony, grant that this blessing be more than words. Let it become evidence. Let testimonies rise from every corner of the earth. Let lives be changed, debts erased, sickness healed, families reunited. The God of the impossible has already acted through your hands. For those who waited and wondered, let this be their sign. For those who doubted but stayed, let this be their reward. Let the infallible prayer to St. Anthony bring swift results, so all may proclaim, "This was my turning point." And now, Lord of all mercy, we seal this prayer with faith and gratitude. What was requested is received. What was broken is restored. What was delayed is delivered. Through the hands of Saint Anthony of Padua, every miracle is made manifest. Amen. What if this moment was heaven's answer to your prayer? What if everything you asked for has already begun to unfold? Are you ready to live like your miracle is here? Type Amen if you received this blessing. Share this prayer with someone who needs it today, a family member, a friend, a stranger who's lost hope. Because the miracle that touched you could be the one that saves another. Click the like button to keep this blessing alive. Each comment, each share, each word of faith pushes this prayer to Saint Anthony further into the world. Subscribe and walk with us on this sacred path of miracles, healing, and divine restoration. The blessing has begun. Now, carry it forward.